What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another market update video for you guys. We're going to get into what's coming up this week, what has happened today, and my thoughts on the overall market. Not much to update on from yesterday, but there are some little things that I did leave out. And then at the end of the video, we will touch on Ski Mask Dog. I'll give an updated thought on it, but also I just like to preface there will be no price predictions this video moving forward. I just wanted to clarify that if anyone is telling you a price prediction, that it is simply a guess. I will give you guys a guess, right? But that's what it is at the end of the day. Realistically, it gets sticky with giving price predictions because you obviously want to have targets to aim for when you're entering a project, but as far as giving them out, I think this is something where you just need to study and do the work yourself to identify where you think a project could go. I will give my honest thoughts of where this project could go, but in any way, shape, or form, I just like to clarify that this is all an opinion. None of this is something that should just be followed right to a T, because I used to do that. I would follow people's price predictions to a T. That did not work out for me. And I also would really overinflate a price prediction for myself. That also really screwed with me as well in terms of my trades. So with that being said, guys, let's jump into it. You guys can see timestamped below. If you want to jump straight to Ski, what we're talking about with Ski today, it will be right there. If you want to stick around for a very quick market overview, then just stick around, then we'll jump into Ski. So let's get into it. So the first two coins I want to talk about today are Ethereum and Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and pull up Bitcoin and Ethereum. First of all, we'll talk about Bitcoin, what's kind of happening right now, where I personally think things could be going from this direction. All right, so we're on the day time frame right now. I am going to be using TradingView. So like we talked about yesterday, there's a demand zone here on the 4-hour time frame. What essentially means is this is an area where I believe that investors will want to push price back down into to then fill some more orders here. This is where I believe a lot of orders are waiting to be placed at this level. Why do I say that? Because if you look, the way I define a demand zone this is something I've learned from a trader, is that we have a movement upwards followed by some consolidation followed by another movement upwards. This consolidation period, as you can see highlighted, would then be a demand zone. So with that out of the way, let's just talk about general market trends. Right now, I will only show you guys my small TA expertise on the major key levels of Bitcoin and Ethereum. However, I'm going to be introducing in the future, as I learn them, a lot of other charts that we're going to be looking at to kind of get a holistic overview and more data to look at, such as total 3 or total 2, I mean. So we're going to look at just niche charts that kind of give us holistic overviews of the market. Bitcoin dominance we're going to have in play, where we're just in general going to look at a lot of different factors. But I guess we will look at Bitcoin dominance today. So Bitcoin, how are we doing? We're trading around 120K right now. Obviously 120K is a psychological resistance point. So as you can see with 120K, previously we've wicked into here a lot of times, right? This is around 120K, wicked into here, wick, almost 220K, wick, and we are wicking into it right now with actually a candle close on the 4-hour there. Also, so 120K seems to be a resistance point here. If we go look further on the 1-hour time frame, what this looks like to me is weakening buy volume. The reason I say that is because, as you guys can see, we had a very nice spike of buy volume. This is what created what we call a demand zone, or what I call a demand zone. And then we had things start to cool off here buy volume started to decrease, sellers started to step in. We had a nice push up back again, failed to create a newer high, which this is totally fine after a big push up to create a new all-time high. You definitely want some sort of a cool off. We had another break of structure occur here when we formed a higher high than this one. Then we fell back again and have just kind of been sitting around. You'd almost draw a box here rather than this line for support, right? We've kind of bounced off this area a lot. We've kind of fell under it a couple times, kind of stuck around this area a little bit, and we are now headed back up. Another break of structure. So realistically, what we're looking for is we're looking for price to be more decisive here. Now, one thing we have tomorrow is the FOMC meeting. A lot of what's going to be discussed tomorrow definitely will impact the markets. So I'm expecting tomorrow to be a somewhat of a volatile day, just depending on what's discussed. So we'll have to wait and see what that is. But yeah, on the higher time frames, like the 4 hour as well. The 4 hour is, again, it's not too concerning. After a major push up we just had with some consolidation, like realistically, I don't see much wrong with this. Of course, there's going to be sellers stepping in to, at least drive down price a little bit. But we're honestly going to have to wait and see what price ends up doing. I think that if we do break below these levels, and based off my TA, I think 111K, 112K would be an area where we could potentially go visit again to potentially continue back upwards. So what I think could happen in this case, if I go to the path tool, is that maybe we start going down again, retesting some of these levels, kind of over the month or two, kind of just playing around, and then we get to 112K, and then maybe we rally up higher again to create another all-time high. But we'll honestly have to see. This is just, again, based off of the 4 hour chart, a demand zone that I previously marked out. Like, not too much has gone into this. That's why I want to incorporate more of those charts as I get to learn them. But again, none of this is financial advice, as this is coming from a very inexperienced investor, or a trader, I should say. So I just like to share that. Now, another thing that could happen here is if we get more consolidation here and then have another sharp move up, almost like we did here around the 10th of July, well, then this area would become a more prominent demand zone. Therefore, signaling 120K could be a very good place to potentially put in longs if we do happen to move up again. So I would be looking at, per my definition, to long Bitcoin if we reapproach 112K. Now, let's say we get up here. Who knows how, let's say we reach the top for Bitcoin. Then we slowly start our descent in the bear market. Even if we come and touch this demand zone, it is still demand zone. It's still valid to the definition that I have learned. Therefore, we could catch a trade like this, where we go and we long right here. So if you're a futures trader, this is a trade I might be looking at for the future, right? So maybe to take a trade like that if we slowly start our descent down, or even if we move down and tap this demand zone, that is going to be a swing trade that I'm going to be looking for. The next thing we're going to be talking about is Ethereum. So that was kind of Bitcoin strength. I guess to be more holistic with Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin is set to continue to move up as of now. I really myself need to learn more data, but also I need to see more data within Bitcoin's own chart to really have a definite answer for that. So we're going to have to let things develop, and until then, we'll see how it goes. And again, if you use EMAs, we are still trading well above a lot of these EMAs, still signaling a lot of strength. So I still think we're going to be just fine for the short term, right? Healthy corrections are definitely going to be around to help play us out. And so here's the day chart for ETH. Again, as we've discussed with demand zones, here are two that I've recognized, one being around $1,800. And again, this is an area where if, let's say we get to the top, whatever that is, we slowly start our descent. We tap here, we get a long in, it gets invalidated because it fills more than 50%, so that demand zone is gone, right? We slowly approach, we tap again, get a move up, fall back down. There are 2 long opportunities that I could see happening here, right? So catching a long there, and then potentially catching a mirror long, not quite around here as well. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. That's kind of how I'm trading these moves, but we're going to have to see what happens. I think ETH, like I've discussed last video, so if you weren't around for last video, what I see playing out, there's 2 potentials for now, simply based off the psychological resistance level, but also how we've been moving price-wise. I think personally, and first of all, 4 hours looks pretty well, right? We're moving up at a healthy or at a pretty strong pace. I don't know if you'd consider it healthy, but we're moving up at a very strong pace. 1 hour things start, on the 1 hour time frame, it does appear that we're kind of breaking down a little bit, but you can see previously we broke down a little bit before moving back up even stronger. I think 4K is going to be tapped very soon. I think in general 4K is going to be tapped. I think that's going to kind of be the whole basis of what I'm kind of trying to say here. But there are a couple of things that could happen here that I'm going to give you both scenarios. The first scenario that I see happening is we move up to 4K. We almost close above it, but we don't. We close below 4K, meaning price at whatever day it is closes below 4K. So maybe at 3,998, whatever. We close below 4K, and then this then becomes resistance. 4K becomes resistance. Why? Because it's a huge psychological number for a lot of investors. So a lot of investors, just as a psychological number, will look to take profits at that $4,000 level. We've explained that a lot of this market is driven simply by expectations. The whole market is generally built off of expectations. That's why we see in the stock market, if an earnings report is expected to be very good, then a stock is going to perform well because investors are going to expect the stock to do well. Therefore, they're going to buy and, of course, increase the price of that stock. It seems very simple because it really is. So if we have this theory in trading that 4K is a huge psychological level, 5K would be even a bigger psychological level to break. But because we have this idea that these round hole numbers are prominent levels within the market, then they act as very key levels to watch for due to simple expectations. Because if people expect a lot of people to take profits at psychological levels, well, 4K would then in theory be a psychological level where a lot of people are expected to take profits from. So a lot of investors, when 4K is reached, will start to take profits from Ethereum. So that's something I just like to note. That's at least what I think about when I think about how prominent psychological levels are. So again, I see us potentially coming up to 3,900. In this case, we'd fail to close above it on the daily time frame since it's more prominent, and then we maybe get a pullback, right? I wouldn't say we fall all the way down to 3,000. I don't know if that would necessarily be realistic enough. This might be in September, but either way, if we do close below 4K and it acts as resistance, then there is potential for at least some pullback. I'm not saying we would dive right into bearish break of structures, but I do think that we, especially after as strong as a move that we had here, I definitely think that it would be healthy to at least see some sort of a correction, so to speak. So we will see how this plays out. That's just my one thought. That's my one scenario. The next scenario is if we go and we close above 4K and then we bounce off it again, come up a little bit, bounce off it again. 4K is now an established support level, and then we continue up higher from there. So this is obviously the inverse example of what would happen if we close below. But again, this is not perfect, but you can see in December, we wicked into 4K. We had some candle closes around 4K, and look what happened. We came all the way down to around 1,500 per ETH. So that would have been a massive short for you if you were able to catch that 4K right? Like what would have signaled to me that there is just very weak support in the markets is look, we barely have any candle close. We have a candle here signaling indecision, boom, harsh candle rejection, a reapproach. Once I see this indecision and we have another close, I would be shorting there, and you would have caught a very, very nice move down. So we need to look for something like that before, or for this scenario now. So this is what I'm going to be watching every single day. We're kind of going to get, I'm going to give you guys some updates on this every single day for a long-term perspective. And again, if we do have a drawdown like that, I do think altcoins will be affected. If you look at some of these base altcoins like Ski, Aerodrome, a lot of these base altcoins have barely seen rallies compared to what we saw with them last year, especially in fall and winter. So with ETH having very, very good strength compared to that around, I mean, it's almost at its high it made in that of last fall. Not overall high, but the high it made in December. December's high. It is almost to that point, and we do not see these coins anywhere near where we saw them in December. So that is also concerning to see. A lot of coins like XRP, though, like these older tokens, more established tokens, are definitely seeing movements up. XRP specifically, I mean, is an example for sure. But you guys can see, like in December, look at Dogecoin. I mean, Dogecoin was at 50 cents. We are a 2x away from that, right? So honestly, don't know what to expect from here in terms of altcoins. I think if we can break 4K, a lot of altcoins are going to rally hard. But again, they're all kind of lagging behind besides a couple of them. So it's concerning to say the least. But that's kind of where my thoughts are right now. It's simple. If we break 4K, we'll see how things play out. If we fail to break it, then I do think that there is going to be some sort of short-term correction. So we're going to see how this all plays out, guys. I'm pretty excited to see what the market decides to throw our way. But finally, for those of you who have been waiting for it, didn't want to hear me blabber on over my thoughts on the overall market, we're now going to touch into Ski Mask Dog. I'm not going to give you guys an in-depth technical analysis overview of Ski Mask Dog, since in reality, with a lot of these tokens, these smaller tokens, you're not going to be looking, so to speak, for a lot of technical analysis because there's not a lot of data that you're going to have access to with them being smaller tokens. However, Ski Mask Dog followed this falling wedge, and I'm calling this a falling wedge. You can call this whatever you want to. Multiple taps off this line. I mean, you can see a couple wicks, a candle close, wick, candle close, wick, candle close. Clearly following this line down. We had some bounces, not really anything significant, but this is what signaled to me that buyers are stepping in and that we found a breakout potential right around here when we broke above this trend line. You guys can see we had a candle close above this trend line. So you could have put a buy order in. Obviously, you probably wouldn't have been able to short it. I don't know if there's any exchanges that allow you to do so. You would have caught a nice move. I mean, this would have been a 2x at the very least, catching the top. Yes, you would have around 2x'd if you would have bought simply based off of this breakout. And this is something I discussed. I don't remember when it exactly was, but maybe I made an X post on this. I honestly forget. I think I made an X post on this where we discussed this falling wedge. And this was, I don't know, I drew this out sometime in June. So sometime when I was in Italy, I drew this out. Okay. And it followed it to a T. We broke out and clearly we got the move we were anticipating. Now, there is weakening buy pressure again, but we did just have this movement up. It is healthy for retracement. All we're going to need now is a continuation to keep going. So this is from a TA standpoint, but what is going to make this coin thrive, in my opinion? Like I've talked about, the only thing that's going to drive Ski, but not just Ski, a lot of certain coins, mostly every single coin within the crypto market, is community. So as long as Ski continues to keep its community alive, the community stays alive, stays interested, And I'll say this, like, you have to understand a lot of people who are in a project like that of Ski, like that of any other meme coin, so to speak, when they get emotionally attached to it, there's a couple of different reasons for it. Some of them genuinely do feel like they are a part of a community, but deep rooted for a lot of people, it's the fact that they're in a project that they want to make a substantial amount of money off of. So that is in regards to Ski. A lot of people are expecting $2, $5, $10 per ski, um, which is deep rooted in the idea that they want to make a boatload of money with a coin like this. And I'm not going to say what's realistic or not. Again, like, I don't want to delve into price predictions, but I don't want you to be in a position where you are leading yourself. You're praying for something to happen. Like, that's not going to get you anywhere. You have to be very logical when you're approaching situations like this. Again, for me, like, once I saw this breakout, this would have been a buy opportunity in my eyes, and you would have been able to 2.5x, right? And you could have taken your initial out and some profits at this point. But simply just praying that this will just retire you. It's like, and with any coin, I'm not specifically saying this for Ski, but with any coin, like, it's not healthy to do. And I see it with a lot of meme coin communities. People just expect, oh, this is going to go to $1 to $5. This is a method of what I used to think like, but that's simply not realistic, guys. It's just not going to happen that way. Do I think there's potential for Ski to reach $5, $10? I think there's a potential for a lot of things to happen. I think Bitcoin could go to $1 million per token, right? I think ETH could go to 10K per token eventually, but it's just a guess. Like, at the end of the day, like, I don't want to give people what they want to hear, simply based off the fact that I would want views. Like, that's not what I want to approach this as. I want to approach this in a manner where we're just thinking logically. We don't want to get very primal with our decision making, meaning we're leading by just hopes and dreams. Like, we have to be understanding here. The key things for Ski to do very well this cycle is if the community keeps on going and keeps on building, meaning they're adding, a lot of people are joining the Ski community. The Ski community is staying strong, staying active. Base gets a lot more attention. That is very important. We are seeing a top base coin nowhere near its December high. So a lot of base coins need to have rallies to kind of bring more attention towards base. Ethereum, like, of course, Ethereum strength really has not done too much for these coins so far. So base needs to come back. A lot of attention needs to go back to base, I'd say. So there's a lot of different factors. I think there's a lot of potential with Ski as a meme coin, as long as the community just continues to hold steady. And I will make this, I'll just go ahead and I will make this comparison. But I really want you guys to understand that this is simply a comparison. This is not this is destined to happen. I just want you guys to understand, okay? So let me pull up Ski, and we're going to compare Ski to that of a coin that I think is very similar to Ski, but Ski has potential to potentially reach some of its numbers. That is going to be Dog with Hat. So Dog with Hat is a token that had a very, very nice run. This is a token, I believe, on Solana. I'm not too familiar with a lot of these meme coins. I believe Solana, it might be Ethereum. So I could be wrong on this. It might be Ethereum, I think. I could be wrong. I'm sorry. But with Ski potentially reaching Dog with Hats, you're looking at $1.24. In a market like this, if nothing changes, if we're still stuck with where we're sitting with the market, again, this is just my own thoughts and opinions. You'd have to go and get your own opinion. I don't think this will happen. I don't think $1 would happen in a market that we are currently sitting in, where alts are barely doing anything with ETH pushing 4K. What would need to happen is these coins would have to regain their strength, start to match Ethereum, and you can say the whole thing of, well, money's flowing into the ETH and it's going to flow into these large caps, mid caps, low caps. Okay, but until that happens, then I don't think that this is going to be a potential possibility, at least for now. And again, for survivability, Ski's community would have to hold steady together throughout the bear market and would have to regain strength within the next bull market, assuming we end up seeing one, which I'm sure we will. So there's a lot of factors that are at play here. I'm going to say, like, I'm just personally not going to give a price prediction. I don't know where Ski could go. I'm just going to be honest. Um, I don't, like, I can kind of tell you my opinion of a limit to set on it. I just, again, like, this is just my thoughts. So I think personally, Ski has a good sized community. It is still very, very active, very consistent on a lot of the social media platforms, which we've seen so many projects lack, that I am very impressed with that. The community leads do a great job just holding this community together. But again, like, with just how the overall market performs, like, we're going to have to see how things play out. It's way too early to tell if Ski could hit, crazy numbers. If that's what you believe, and your beliefs are based off of a logical principle, then that's your opinion, right? But I'm just saying this because this is something I had to learn myself. Please do not rush into this and set crazy price predictions for yourself that just might not happen, right? You want to treat this as an investment, not just something, you're just gambling on. Like, please don't treat this as a gamble. It's going to ruin you. I've seen it ruin people. I've lost a lot of money treating crypto like a gamble mentally. And I've had to learn from that. So I just wanted to make this video kind of discussing the mindset behind it. But I think Ski has potential to do pretty well. We're just going to have to see how things play out. We're just realistically going to have to see how things play out from here. The overall market needs to continue forward. Altcoins need to continue to regain their strength. But again, base needs a lot more exposure and a lot more eyes on it for coins like Ski to do very, very well. Again, we've talked about one of the notable things being in Coinbase listing. We have yet to see that still for Ski. I'll say this, if the market continues in a very good pace towards November, December, and we get a Coinbase launch around December, the markets are still going strong for Ski, you're placing a launch for Ski in the perfect season, being winter, where skiing is actually relevant. I think it could fly there if you do get a listing, but that's my opinion. Like, the best case scenario is you get a Coinbase listing. The markets are still heating up, like ETH close to 5K in December. You get a listing. That's when things could really go crazy. But as of now, it's more just of a waiting game, but also, like, I don't know, guys. We'll see. So that's my thoughts on it. I just wanted to be very transparent with you guys. I don't want to just simply throw out, oh, well, it's going to easily hit $10, right? Like, that's not going to help anyone. I just want you guys to approach this in a logical way. Approach it in a way where you are not gambling. We don't want to treat crypto like gambling. If you treat crypto like gambling and you lose, you're probably not going to want to go back to the casino. It's going to ruin you. If you want to play this game for the long run, you have to approach it logically. This is coming from someone who's had to learn this myself. So I hope you guys appreciated the video. Those are some of my thoughts on the market and just on Ski. And we will have some content out for you guys tomorrow as well. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys later.